Hi everyone, this is Amy from the Helms Academy, and today we're going to be going over essay writing for the GED and HiSET test. This is our recap of Reading and Writing Club from November 10th, 2020. So to start off, we need to talk about what the GED or HiSET test entails. So first, you'll have two readings, and they'll be about the same general topic, but they'll take two different perspectives on that topic. And following that, you'll have a question to answer about those two readings. You must be able to take ideas from those readings and then be able to answer the question using those ideas and details. And most likely, it's going to ask you to make a decision on this particular essay. So you'll look at the two perspectives, and then you will side with one particular side. So this is an example of the amount of material you're looking at. We will look at all of these in more detail in just a moment, but you'll have first source material 1, second source material 2, and third the extended response prompt. So with that, you can see all of this comes from GED.com. This is an actual sample that they would use, and it gives us a lot of good information here. We can see about the length of each reading that we'll need to do. You can see that it provides a title and an author for each reading, and you can see that it gives you a specific task at the end. So let's take a look at what all of this entails. So for source material 1, it says this is a speech called "Tweens Are Ready for Cell Phones" by Deborah Pendergast, and it comes from the Safer Kids Summit. So here's what Deborah Pendergast says in her speech. "Thank you for inviting me to the first Safer Kids Summit. We are here to discuss ways to keep our children safe in an increasingly complex world. Today's focus is on technology, specifically on the ideal age to give kids their own cell phones. As a representative of a large telecommunications company, I receive many inquiries from parents on this topic. And this is what I tell them. It depends on the child, of course, but in general, age 10 is just about right. A 2012 survey by the National Consumers League backs me up. The survey found that almost 60% of children ages 8 to 12 already have cell phones. These tweens can contact their parents at any time, and vice versa, giving the kids a sense of empowerment and their parents a feeling of security. Caroline Knorr of the group Common Sense Media says, "We want our kids to be independent, to be able to walk home from school and play at the playground without us. We want them to have that old-fashioned, fun experience of being on their own, and cell phones can help with that." Picture the following scenario. You told your fourth grader that you would pick her up after school, but you were stuck in traffic. She's waiting for you and waiting and waiting, but if you both have cell phones, you can call her to let her know that you are delayed, and she can go back inside the school where there are adults around. You both breathe a sigh of relief. Psychologists tell us that the period between ages 10 and 12 is one of growing independence. It is a time to teach children about responsibility and to give them opportunities to earn our trust. Providing a 10-year-old with a cell phone offers an ideal way to achieve these goals and gives parents peace of mind as well. So this is source material 1. It's obviously showing us one side of the argument, which is that tweens should have cell phones. So we automatically know if this is the first one, we're now going to read about the opposite side, that tweens should not. So here's source material 2, a speech called "Wait Until They Are Older" by Linda Sidner, also at the Safer Kids Summit. "Good morning. I come to this topic as a parent and a veteran teacher of so-called tweens. I love kids this age for their curiosity and energy, but those same qualities can lead to trouble if not overseen by adults. That's why giving children their own phones actually makes them less safe, not more. I believe that the best age for a cell phone is 16, the point at which we consider kids grown up enough to learn to drive. And even then, parents must set firm limits on phone use. Why are tweens with phones less safe? For one thing, parents may be lulled into a false sense of security if their kids have phones. They may become careless about knowing where their child is and who he is with, thinking, I can always reach him on his phone. For another, cell phones give children access to all the frightening, dangerous, and inappropriate sites on the internet, with no parent nearby to monitor this activity. But perhaps the most worrisome aspect of giving cell phones to children is the rise in cyberbullying or text bullying. Text bullying means using a cell phone to send cruel, embarrassing, or false text messages to or about someone. In one study, researcher Elizabeth Englander found that by middle school, over 90% of children report that they use their cell phones to text or go to the internet. She also found that in grades 3 through 5, between 14 and 19% of children reported being victims of cyberbullying. What if it's your child on the receiving end of this cruelty? Or perhaps worse, what if your child is the bully? Children of this age are simply not mature enough to handle this technology, and we shouldn't expect them to be. It's our job as adults to protect them. That's why I say it's better to wait. So with these two pieces, we now need to make an argument out of them. It says, analyze the arguments presented in the two speeches. And in your response, develop an argument in which you explain how one position is better supported than the other. Incorporate relevant and specific evidence from both sources to support your argument. Remember, the better argued position is not necessarily the position with which you agree. This task should take approximately 45 minutes to complete. So when we talk about essays, we're looking at a clear structure. Every essay that you ever write should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And largely, the information in the introduction and conclusion across all types of essays will be the same. So we're going to look at what those pieces are today, and we're also going to talk about how we can add multiple paragraphs to the body. Today we'll do 3 to help give enough information to make a really strong argument. So let's get started with the introduction. The introduction should have 2 things in it. First, some background information on the topic, and then a thesis statement. So let's look at an example for this particular essay. This one says, tween refers to a child who is transitioning from being a child to being a teenager. From ages 10 to 12, tweens learn and mature quickly. So there's our background information. We know we're reading about tweens. We know we're going to get into cell phones. So we could take something along those lines, and we could just take a couple of sentences to give a little intro to our reader. From that intro, it will transition then into the thesis statement. And here the thesis statement, or the main argument, says, as they reach this stage of life, tweens should have their own cell phone to feel safe and practice using their independence responsibly. So there I'm making a clear argument. What side am I on? If you remember nothing else for the introduction, make sure you have that sentence that gives a clear argument. That's your thesis, and that's going to set you up for success. So make that statement, and that can guide the rest of what you write in the entire essay. Now, when we talk about the body is proving the thesis statement. So you're going to take a couple of paragraphs to give reasons and examples and explanations to support the thesis statement and the argument that you're making. I give a few references here that you could use things like firstly or additionally as transition words to get started on those ideas. There are many others that you could use, but this is a template. And what I find is that when we start writing with a particular structure, that it can be difficult to remember how to get started on each paragraph. So it's good to keep a couple of these in your back pocket so that you always have them to refer to. So here in paragraph 1, you'll give, again, that first reason and then give examples and explanations to support that reason. You're going to give a second reason why you created that thesis statement and how to back it up. And you're going to give examples and explanations to support that reason. That's the second body paragraph. And then the third body paragraph, you're going to do something a little different because they want you to include evidence from both pieces of writing. So you're going to show the opposing argument, and then you're going to show why your original argument is still stronger. And the structure that I use for that is some people think that, and then refuting it with however. So we're going to see all of these in action and examples for each type of paragraph. Let's take a look. So for that first body paragraph, again, you're giving a reason and then giving examples and explanations. So here's my reason. Firstly, tweens need a cell phone to grow in independence. Okay, so I've given a very clear reason why we should give tweens these cell phones at this time. As Deborah Pendergast mentions, this should bring a red flag, right? If you are seeing this and someone is grading your essay and they see the name of the author, that's a good sign to them that you are using evidence from the text. So I'd encourage you to go back, look and see who the authors are for the different things that you read and use their names as you're referring to something you learned from them. That's also just a good practice to avoid plagiarism or stealing someone else's idea. One other key thing to keep in mind is not to copy anything directly from that original text, but rather to make sure that you're putting it in your own words. So read it and then think about how you would say it to someone else without staring at the screen and reading it again. So back to the text, it says, as Deborah Pendergast mentions, kids can spend more time alone. Having the phone allows them to do things on their own without the concern of not being able to reach their parents or their parents not being able to reach them. Tweens will also have to learn to care for their phone, including charging it and keeping it with them. There are many opportunities for tweens to learn independence and responsibility when they have a phone. So we made the argument for tweens having a phone. We said specifically they need it to grow in independence, and then we gave examples of them being able to go out on their own, of them learning responsibility and taking care of the phone, and wrapped it up with a statement that summarized it all, with many opportunities to learn independence and responsibility. Now, for the second paragraph, we're doing the same thing, just a new idea. So last time we talked about independence and responsibility. This time we're talking about safety. So it says, additionally, tweens need a cell phone to feel safe. Again, another reason to back up why we should give them cell phones. In her speech, Deborah Pendergast clearly articulated how important it is for kids to feel safety and empowerment at this age. She gives the example that if a child is waiting for a parent to pick him or her up from school, the parent can communicate with the child about any changes or delays. With phones, tweens have an additional form of communication they can use with the adults they trust, and they can call for help at any time. Safety is the highest priority. So again, here I've taken that first and last sentence to make a little sandwich of our paragraph here to talk about safety. And in the middle, I've given reasons and examples why we need that safety. Why is it so important for kids? How can it be used? And I've specifically drawn from the text. Now, the third paragraph, as you remember, is a little different. So we need to show the opposing argument and then show why the original argument is still stronger. So we're going to start that sentence with some people believe. So some people believe that it is not safe to give a tween a phone. Now, that information is opposite of what I've been arguing, right? If I say we should give every tween a phone, it's not safe. Those two things don't go together. So now I'm inviting the opposite argument in, and this is showing that I can read two sides of something and still pick a side that's stronger. So this is very important. It's something they're especially looking for on the GED, and they love to see on the HiSET too. So we've given this argument that some people think it's not safe. It says here, Linda Sidner says in her speech that tweens may experience cyberbullying or may access inappropriate content on their phones. So Linda Sidner is the other article writer that we read at the beginning. So that way we are able to use both of the things that we read in our essay. So this is giving us a great opportunity. Make sure you draw on both pieces of text. Then it says, however, parents who have this concern can set restrictions and boundaries on their child's cell phone use and the capabilities of the phone. Tweens should be given the opportunity to learn how to best use the power and responsibility it is to have a phone. And that can only be done if the parents trust them with this experience. So again, we brought it back to our original argument that it's actually more important for the child to have this experience and to interact with a phone, and the parents can put in different parameters to help them interact safely. But we should not give them a phone just because we feel it's generally unsafe. So this is one argument. And again, I want to remind you that the arguments that you put in here don't have to reflect how you actually feel. They are not grading you on your authenticity as a person. They're grading you on your ability to write out a strong argument and a strong essay. So if you want to take the opposite stance because you feel it's a little easier to argue, go for it. That's totally fine. Your job is just to side with one side of this argument and make it clear. So the conclusion is our last piece, and the conclusion should be your easiest piece also. You're just going to restate your thesis, summarize what you talked about in your body paragraphs, and give a final thought to kind of tie it up with a bow. So here it is, and you can see the colors that align with the pieces at the top here. First, we're going to restate the thesis. All tweens should have the opportunity to have a phone. There we go. We kept it simple, restated what the main argument is. Then we're going to summarize. With parental guidance and support, tweens can learn to be responsible and feel more safe and secure. There were our two biggest arguments. And finally, we can say when tweens learn more responsibility early in life, they grow up to be well-adjusted adults. So a final thought, right, isn't going to add anything additional to our main arguments, but it's just going to give almost like your final opinion on this. This is a chance for you to use your voice. So when you put all of that together, we now have 5 paragraphs that we've written, and here's what it looks like. And this is so important. If you're writing an essay for the GED or HiSET, make sure you have distinctions between your paragraphs. Skip a line, hit that enter key to go down a couple of lines so that whoever is grading can clearly see that you have separate paragraphs for each piece. This is going to help you because part of the scoring is to have about 4 to 6 paragraphs in there. And one good rule that we talked about from Courtney from the Helms Academy today was the 5x5 rule. If you're uncertain if you have enough material or if you have expanded enough, she says that you can remember 5 paragraphs, 5 sentences each. Now, sometimes things are a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, and that's okay. But that's a good rule of thumb that you can easily remember. 5x5, 5 paragraphs, 5 sentences. Then if you have that, you should certainly know that you have enough information in there. I want to thank you so much for joining me today for this Reading and Writing Club recap. I hope you learned something new about the essay, and good luck on your tests. You can check out more of our videos on our Helms Academy YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest updates. There are new videos every week, and you can also check out content on Facebook and Instagram and on our website at helmsacademy.org.